Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. Today we're going to be taking a look at a single barrel that was picked by a club that I'm a member of. They're a South Carolina club called the Soda Boys, and the reason I wanted to do an actual proper video on it is because this, I'm hoping, is going to be a good candidate for my argument that sometimes it might be best to stop trying to hunt down all these crazy allocated bottles. You know, I definitely think that there's a lot of value in having some cool bottles on your shelf that took a lot of effort to get your hands on. But sometimes there's some banger pours right at your local stores where people are going out, they're heading over to these distilleries all over the United States, and they're sampling barrels and finding the one that they really like, the full profile of, having it bottled up, and then giving you access to it. And this is something that I think goes dramatically overlooked these days as people continue this trend of what's the latest, greatest, most rarest, hardest bottle to find, and how do I get it and post it to my Facebook groups and let everybody be like, oh my gosh, you actually got that thing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're missing some incredible pours when you spend all of your budget and your energy looking for, like those things and these things, and you know what I mean? So I'm hoping this will be a good candidate for my argument and make a good case for itself. But this is a Bardstown Bourbon Company single barrel pick. This is the high rye mash bill, right? The origin juice of the white label. So this is actually kind of a fun pick. On the back of the bottle there, you can see the quote, "There can be only one," right? Highlander reference, which we're getting a new one of those. I think Henry Cavill's in it, which is pretty cool because he's pretty hot. But anyways, this is, they named it that way because they are the only club in South Carolina this year that did a Bardstown Bourbon pick, right? I think there's a couple of ryes in South Carolina, but no other stores or clubs did a bourbon pick. Now, I actually already have a single barrel from Bardstown that I adore that's pretty special to me. It's this one. It's one of the best whiskeys on my shelf, quite frankly. But this was a private barrel from one of the employees there at Bardstown Bourbon Company, a guy named Andrew Jury, who's a supervisor of the distillery, and got in contact with me. He said he had his own barrel that he was gonna bottle it up. It was coming of age. It's the only single barrel of their wheated bourbon mash bill ever. Period. One barrel. I got a bottle. It's pretty cool. So these, they don't do picks of them yet. They might down the road, but they don't do them right now, and they don't have any plans to do them right now. That being said, I'm a big fan of their Origin distillate. This is Origin distillate, just like that, but a different mash bill. And this stuff is pretty killer. So I'm very excited to crack this open and have a full pour right now. I went ahead and cracked the seal on this weekend, just to let it open up a little bit. But let's dive into it. So a couple things to know. This comes in at 122.6 proof, so pretty hot in the proof department. I like that 120-ish range when it comes to single barrels, particularly. The age on this is just under 7 years old, so 6-year bourbon, 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley. And with tax, I paid $70 for this bottle. Cool? Let's pour it. All right, let's get in here on the nose. Dude, the very first thing I get on the nose of this, immediately, I thought of cream cheese frosting. Like the kind you'd put on top of a cinnamon roll. And there's definitely a nutty quality to this that I don't tend to get a ton of on Bardstown distillate. But I want to say peanut brittle. You know, like that toffee, that crunchy caramel toffee with some peanuts inside of it. I get a ton of that on the nose here, which is fantastic. I love peanut brittle. And to balance out that sweetness, I'm also getting kind of like rye chips you'd get in a Chex Mix. Well, that's a great nose. Let's get in here, huh? Cheers. Ooh. Ooh. Did you ever have these cinnamon rolls growing up that had almost like they had the orange frosting as well? There's cinnamon rolls with the orange frosting. I get that orange frosting note like right up front. Very first thing that hits my tongue is a little bit of that bright orange, zesty citrus note alongside that cream cheese frosting. But then I get this a really nice wave of kind of peppery oak, like white peppercorn. It's not like big and punchy, spicy oak. It's good seasoned oak with a little bit of a hint of pepperiness to it. And then we come down into these brittle notes. The nuttiness comes back around that we got on the nose. That comes mid-palate and then extends into the finish where we get that bright peanut alongside those toffees and caramels that I attribute with that peanut brittle. And well after I've swallowed long into the finish, I'm left with just that tannic oak and a little bit of that orange zest. Has this great oily mouthfeel to it that really reminds me of like a Booker's from Jim Beam. Right, it's thick and it's viscous and it's chewy. You actually kind of feel like you're chewing on the whiskey. Guys, that's dynamite. That is superb whiskey, especially at that $70 price point. You think about the things it would be directly competing with. Man, how do you say no to something like that? I mean, that's every bit as good as some of the better Bookers that I have ever had. And then for the Bookers, you're probably paying around 90 bucks, maybe 100 bucks, depending on where you're getting it from. And this is drinking every bit as good as the good Booker's batches out there. 70 bucks. I don't know if you can see this. Do you see how thick this is? How much? I haven't even been sipping out of this in like over a minute now, and I still have these huge drips at the top of the glass that aren't even running down yet. They're not thin enough to start running down. They're just hanging out up there. That's great. I am like freaking loving that orange zesty cream cheese frosting. You know, that's one of my favorite parts of this sip, and that brittle note that comes around later in the mid palate. Friggin' phenomenal. Good pick, gentlemen. Good pick. While I'm thinking about it, I do got to apologize. You know, a lot of you who frequent the channel, you know that I often show like an infographic on screen for the bottles that, you know, we're reviewing, and it has like the name of the bottle, picture of the bottle, MSRP, age, mash bill, all that information, and a short little write-up on the bottle. That's a template that I modify for each time I do that. In my last video, I forgot to update one of the fields in that template, which was the price. So when I showed the New Riff Sherry Cask finish, it labeled it as $150 MSRP, which was a completely different bottle, and I had forgotten to update that field. So I apologize. It is not that much. I think it's usually like 65 to 70 bucks. It's like the same as what I'm tasting here. It's the same price range. So I apologize for that. That's my bad. Neither here nor there, but it was just on my mind, so I wanted to throw that out there. Anyways, Soda Boys, congratulations on this pick. This is delightful. And it does actually fully validate my position that, guys, sometimes you might have access to a great bottle of whiskey that isn't going to break the bank. It isn't going to make you go check in secondary markets. It isn't going to make you go stand in line for 2 hours. Not that those things are bad things to do. You know, a lot of times I'll do these bottle drops as well if it's something that I'm really excited about from a distillery I'm really excited about. But just know that month after month after month after month, there's probably great single barrel selections on the shelves in stores that are local to you, where they're sending people down to taste barrels and make a selection for one that they think is really exceptional. And sometimes actually these local stores will actually give you a sample. I don't know if that's legal or not. I don't want to say who, but there's some stores near me that'll do that. If I'm like, what do you, you know, I see you got a barrel pick out. I'll always ask, I see you got a barrel pick out here from whoever it is, whether it's Elijah Craig, Blue Note, whatever. And I'll say, hey, can you tell me about this pick that you did? What's the profile on that like? And a lot of times they'll be like, well, let me just, and they'll have like these little plastic cups, and they'll do like a really tiny little drop of it in there for you, just to have a quick swig of it, and they'll talk about it a little bit, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I think I might want to have me one of those. So just ask. Never hurts to ask. You may end up walking out of there with a bottle that isn't allocated, but is as good as an allocated bottle or better. And that's the video. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, big shout out to our Patreon supporters who fund the bottles that we get to pick up and review here on the channel. A lot of the ones I've picked up recently, like this one, like the Dragon's Milk collab. That one was a pricey one. Those are all Patreon funds. So thank you so much for your support. I really do genuinely appreciate it. And if you ever want to get involved in our Patreon community, we have a great community of people. We have a Patreon lounge and Discord where we hang out, we chat every single day, sharing pictures of our collections, sharing links to bottles that are being dropped that you may have a small window to purchase, stuff like that. We also do events like virtual bottle shares. We just finished one up, which was a 3-session bottle share. It was a ton of fun, and I loved being able to sit down and chat with the gentlemen there in our group. And even this coming weekend, we're going to be, some of us are going to be hanging out, meeting up outside of New Holland, their Knickerbocker location in Grand Rapids to do a bottle drop together, which would be kind of fun. Anyways, feel free to check that out. Link in the description. With that, I say cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age. And I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.